Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good week. Here we are in week 2 of brain-based research. Anyways, let me go over this really quickly with you. I apologize for the discrepancy on the discussion board that says post your initial response by Thursday midnight and 2 peer posts by Sunday. I didn't realize, actually we revamped, a group of us revamped the Concordia curriculum over the summer, and the person who did this one put Thursday and Sunday, but most of us prefer Wednesday and Friday, with last call being Sunday. So let me clarify that and correct it in the discussion board, but please know that I like you to put up your response by midweek, and I like you to respond to your peers by Friday, Saturday, or Sunday at the latest, but really the conversation's over by Sunday, so midweek post and then responses by Friday would be great. This week, I think the information is really interesting. I like the videos and I like the articles and the readings. This morning, I went back to school for professional development. We had 3 hours of professional development this morning. And you all know when you start working, teaching a specific class, you start focusing on it and finding connections in real life. And teaching brain-based research right now is interesting because that is the focus at my site. We have a lot of new teachers, and so we're going over why we do what we do. And so they were talking about, auditory learning today and kinesthetic learning and visual learning, and having teachers break into groups of how they learn. And of course, then there were the rebels that are kind of well-rounded and wanted to be in their own group because they learn all of those ways. And we were going over Kagan strategies, which for most of you are familiar with, and some of my new teachers, if you aren't, there's a big push in the state and in the districts now with Kagan strategies, which is focus on collaborative learning. And my experienced teachers, most of you have been doing these strategies for years, but under different names. But it's to make sure that everybody is engaged in the process of education and of learning. So I think that the first thing that I want to talk about with you is the article, hang on handwriting, because I thought that was really interesting. I've always thought that handwriting should continue in the school. I've always thought that it was a detriment that we didn't have some type of handwriting practice built into classes and curriculum in the high school classes, especially in 11th grade when we're reading all of these documents like the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, with these handwritten passages that are really hard for a lot of students to be able to read because they're not really that familiar or comfortable with handwriting, believe it or not. So in the article, Why Digitizing Classrooms Won't Work, a couple of the things that I found very interesting were the link between the hand and the brain improves the way students process and reframe information. And it talks about how a 5-year study of Seattle school children found that printing, cursive writing, and using a keyboard each use related but different brain functions. And the results supported the theory that handwriting activated areas of the brain not activated by keyboarding. It also talks about that handwriting, the sequencing of the strokes, engages the thinking part of the mind. Isn't that beautiful? And the paragraph that really stuck with me was the one that said, research supports the notion that educators should increase the use of handwriting and cursive writing to boost cognition and increase performance. In the book Teaching with the Brain in Mind, researcher and author Eric Jensen writes that handwriting relaxes the emotional brain to reduce stress levels in students and improving learning. And I don't teach with the lower grades, so I'm not sure what my elementary school teachers are seeing there, but I can speak for my high school educators, and I'm sure my fellow educators in this class will agree that I am seeing an alarming rate of anxiety-ridden students by the 11th grade. In the last 2 or 3 years, I have had a large population of my students on anti-anxiety medication and actually having panic attacks in the classroom, feeling very overwhelmed. And when you watch the video, The Learning Brain, when you get to around minute, I don't know, 3.5 or 4, it talks about how stress and anxiety makes it, just impossible to really learn and retain, to have good information coming in. It's like everything just shuts down and you can't hang. And so this is something that we have to look at as educators, and how are we going to stop this from becoming a crisis with these kids feeling so overwhelmed. Each one of you right now, I'm sure as I'm saying this, can take a moment and think back to a time when you were really stressed and your stress caused you to not think clearly. I don't know how many parents I have in my class. I didn't count, but I know a lot of you are parents, and you guys will love this story. One time my children all played water polo. My whole family played water polo. And my son, when he was in 6th grade, I had just gone through a horrific divorce. I was working on my master's degree, and I had my sister on speakerphone in my van, and she was talking to me and trying to calm me down when I was very, very flustered and feeling overwhelmed. And I was supposed to go by my house and pick up my son to take him to water polo. And I actually drove right past the house, right past my son, went all the way to the pool and went, okay, you can get out now. And there was no child in my car. And I was like, my sister was like, what did you do? And I was like, oi, this was before, cell phones. So, I mean, my son didn't have a cell phone or anything like that. I had one, but my son didn't have one. And so I was like, oh! And so then I went back and got him, and, he was just still standing there in front of the house, like waiting for me. Luckily, the pool wasn't very far. But this is what stress does to your brain. You all have experience with the holding your phone to your ear and saying, where's my phone? Where's my phone? While you're talking to somebody, parking your car in the staff parking lot, and then being so overwhelmed with your day that you cannot remember where you parked the car. These things all happen when we put stress in. You just can't take in information the way you should be able to take in information. And that's something that we have to think about with our students. We also have to remember, and I think I said this in the week 1 video as well, or not, but I think I did, that we have to remember that many of us have been teaching this subject for years. And so we are very comfortable with the information, and we know the information, and we've already made all the connections. And we have to remember that our students are hearing this for the first time, and they're going to need some time to make these connections. Okay. Lastly, I want you to note that the due date for the group integration paper is September 6th. That's Tuesday, midnight. I want you to enjoy your Labor Day weekend. I've extended the deadline to that day, so please relax and take that 3-day weekend and enjoy it. I won't even start grading those papers until Wednesday or Thursday, so they'll be due on Tuesday. When you submit it, it will probably say late. I'm not going to change the due date or go into the Blackboard to do that. Just ignore that. Don't worry. It's not late. Everything's fine, and I'm going to grade it after the 6th. And let's see. Sorry, one more thing. Okay. So, on your Blackboard discussion for week 2, remember that you are responding to. After reading and viewing this week's content, please detail an aha moment you had. Describe your response to the following. What point was new to you? What points caused you to see learning in a new light? What point caused you to think differently about your teaching style? And we've had a lot of good information from week 1 and week 2 to think about and digest. I've already told you some of the reminders that I had from being back in the brain-based research class again. I want you to have a good teaching week. I want you to stay as unstressed as possible as you can. Please feel free to contact me by email or text this week. Phone call is going to be difficult because it is my first week back. But anybody who's texted me or emailed me knows that I get back very quickly. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Hopefully our next collaborative online will go well. And have a great day. I'll talk to you later.